poppin', B? Purpok here, and welcome back to another episode of Race the Ramen, the show where I tend to review something unscripted the amount of time it takes to boil an instant ramen. And today we'll be taking a look at Earwig and the Witch, streaming now on HBO Max, and in some theaters, but you shouldn't see it in theaters. That's silly. Now, this movie is under somewhat strict copyright because it is a Ghibli film. So, to avoid any troubles with that, I will be using screenshots from the film, as well as to spice things up, footage from the animated feature Dweegans and Leprechauns. That's just how we're doing things today. Alright, we're going to start the timer right now. Okay, so, Earwig and the Witch. Let me be real with you. This is one of the weakest Ghibli movies that I've ever seen. This is from the same studio that you probably know for films like My Neighbor Totoro, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away. It's directed by Goro Miyazaki, son of Hayao Miyazaki. He's made competent films in the past, and Tales of Earthsea. So it's not like he had no precedent to make a decent film, but this movie had a lot stacked against it. It's Ghibli's first CG movie, which a lot of people were really down on when they saw the trailer for it. And generally speaking, the reviews for this movie have been really negative, and I was going into this trying to give it a fair shake, and I feel like I did. I went in with no real preconceptions of what it would be, not thinking the animation really looks that bad, because it doesn't. I mean, it's not up to the standards of a modern CG film, but it doesn't look bad. It would have looked like industry standard maybe 5-10 years ago. But that's just the thing. From Ghibli, I expect more, and like, the animation is really the least of this movie's problems. Seriously. The pacing and the script are where it comes into a big trouble for me. This movie just doesn't work. It's really messy. Like, the first half, I thought it was setting up something kind of interesting, and I thought it would go somewhere from there, and it doesn't really. It's about a little girl who's trapped in a house with a witch who adopts her from her orphanage, and she just wants to escape. That's the whole movie, pretty much. And then, without wishing to spoil things directly, it ends really abruptly and, in my opinion, rather unsatisfyingly. Lots of plot threads don't get fully resolved, some things get hinted towards, never really get, explored very deeply, and the movie just kind of repeats itself a lot, too. You see a lot of similar sequences back to back. And lots of things that you've seen in other Ghibli movies done better. Talking cats, little girls in places they don't want to be, witch themes. This is actually based on a book from the same author who wrote Howl's Moving Castle, which was also adapted into a Ghibli movie, and that was a pretty good movie. But I guess they just didn't have as much to work with. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the book, but if they were sticking rigidly to the structure, that might have been to its detriment, because its structure just doesn't really work out very well. That's its biggest problem, I'd say. It's an okay-looking, occasionally impressive movie with some nice, sentimental, emotional moments, but most of it's just squashed in poor execution in a way that's honestly kind of confusing and just rather unenjoyable. It just got worse and worse as I watched it, and I'd have to say, it's one of Ghibli's weakest movies, hands down. Stop you. Hopefully, it gave you some impression of what I think of the film. And it's so unfortunate, because this was clearly supposed to be an experiment to see if they could get, if they could diversify the Ghibli portfolio. Like, they've got their classic 2D animation style, but CG is where a lot of studios in the industry seems to be heading and has been for years. So it's like, okay, let's try this out. And they had a lot of people that they believed in on deck. It wasn't like they just got nobodies to work on this. It's Ghibli, and it's people with experience, and I expect better, honestly. By their standards, this is pretty bad. But I don't want to overhype how bad it is. It's not very enjoyable, and I don't really recommend it. But I'd say it's not much worse than below average. But when it's good, it's okay. At its worst, though, seriously unenjoyable. I'm just repeating myself now. So, if we're going for score, I'm going to say that Earwig and the Witch deserves a 4 out of 10. It's below average, like I said. It's just not that good. And I probably would have felt a lot more ripped off if I actually saw this in theaters. This is so strange. Like, I mean, Goro Miyazaki made Tales of Earthsea. People call that, like, the worst Ghibli movie, or have called it one of the worst Ghibli movies, so I guess there's some precedent for this. But he also made Up on Poppy Hill, which is apparently decent. I don't know. I'm just rambling now. I'm just kind of... A lot of people have been throwing this word around. I'm just baffled that a Ghibli movie can be this messy and this boring, really. So, yeah, I can't recommend Earwig and the Witch. I can, however, recommend these lovely steampunk glasses, which I recently bought another pair of because I lost the first pair. I'll find them somewhere, hopefully. And now I look like the Mandrake from this movie that you'll never watch. So what was the point of making this joke?